a YA book review for you of Winterwood by Shea Ernshaw. This is a standalone novel, and the last book I read by Shea was called Wicked Deep, and I really loved it. It was a 5-star read for me in 2018. You can find the book review for that on this channel. I'll probably link it at the end of this video as well if you'd like to check it out. Shea is a very, now that I've read 2 books by her, I think it's just her style because it wasn't unique to Wicked Deep. She's a very atmospheric writer. I would say that the setting and the atmosphere is almost stronger than the character development. I did reach a little bit of a lull in this book at, I don't know, I think I had like 120 pages left or so. But the general premise is that Nora lives in a very isolated, wintry, thus the name Winterwood, town. Although it takes place in the winter, there is like, I guess, people who come in the summer to enjoy the lake, but it's only mentioned. And so she lives in this little cabin, and most people don't stay up in this area during the winter time. So it's more like people come to visit the lake in the summer and they don't stay. So there's other houses, but they're not occupied. There is a house with an older gentleman who has been there for several generations of Nora's family. So, and then on the other side of the lake is a wayward camp for boys. So Nora is from a line of witches, so interspersed throughout the story are pages from like the family grimoire that gives like a little history of the women in her family. It's only like 1 to 2 pages long, and then has a little like spell related to that woman at the end. But each woman in her family has something called a Nightshade, which is essentially their gift or talent. So the story opens with Nora kind of talking about the wood that is around the lake, and there's a portion of the wood that is not receptive to people and seems to interact with people in a negative way. For example, like, you know, vines coming up and wrapping around your ankle or something like that. So she only enters the wood on a full moon, and she likes to find things, which actually ends up being super important later in the story, but it's a little bit of a plot twist, although I saw it coming once enough pieces had pulled together. But she finds a boy in the woods, and it turns out he was this boy who had been missing from the camp, but he'd been missing for 2 weeks. And so right now, when she finds him, they're snowed in, there was a huge storm, and the road out of the town is blocked or snow covered or whatever. So she finds the boy, and then like weird things kind of start happening. She finds out that a boy is dead and a boy is missing, and she's trying to figure out if this boy that she found, Oliver, is the one who killed the missing boy, Max, or what exactly happened. So there's another group of boys from the camp, and they're not very nice, and this plays into a girl from her school who was never particularly nice to Nora or acknowledged her. She was spending the night with one of the boys at the camp before it got snowed in, and so she becomes a factor. And it's kind of slow paced, but it's very interesting because it's witchy and it's atmospheric and it's magical, but it's also mysterious. So you're trying to solve this mystery of who is Oliver, and did he kill this other boy, and should Nora trust him? And there are some chapters, I wouldn't say it's every other chapter, but there's chapters from Oliver's perspective too, and he can't remember what happened that night, but he knows he doesn't want to go back to the camp because he knows it's kind of like a bad place. Because initially Nora tries to take him back there, but he doesn't stay very long. And he doesn't like the other boys, but he doesn't know why he doesn't like the other boys. So Nora's by herself because her mother doesn't want to acknowledge their lineage. So she leaves for long periods of times. So Nora happened to be by herself during this, and her grandmother had passed not long before. And there's a lot of like local legends about her family, and that they like sacrifice boys and keep them in the basement. There's lore about the lake because it used to be a mining town, so the miners used to throw things into the lake as like an offering. And then there's the whole aspect of the forest. So there's a lot going on in this. But I would say that it's very atmospheric and wintry. So it's a great read. I started at the beginning of December. It kind of took me all month to read it. My reading still hasn't picked up, so my Goodreads goal for 2018 was only a book a month, and I think I hit 18 because I listened to a couple audiobooks while I was at work, because while I'm working I can listen to like podcasts and audiobooks and things like that. So at about 120 pages left or so, I kind of hit a wall with this. And if you follow this channel, you know that I have a habit of skimming forward sometimes, especially if something's making me anxious or if I want to find a good stopping point. So I did that, so I kind of knew what was happening, although once I read it I realized I actually didn't really know exactly what was happening. I knew that there was a confrontation of sorts, but that's kind of unavoidable the way the story unfolds. So I kind of figured out things just like right before Nora seemed to figure them out. And once I sat down for like an hour and a half and read that 120 pages, the book went from being like a 3.5 star read to me to being like a solid 4. I found the ending really moving. I would say if you liked Wicked Deep that you would like this one. If you didn't like Wicked Deep, I wouldn't even bother. You know, it was a long time ago since I read The Night Circus, but I feel like books like that, or books by Emily Henry, like A Million Junes, or When the Sky Fell on Splendor, or The Love That Split the World, those kinds of books, if you like that, like the magical realism with some metaphysical, then I think that you would really enjoy this. Her writing is very moody. The character development, it's good, it's solid, but her standout in my opinion is her setting and her like atmosphere and mood building is really strong. This book came with a beautiful undercover, as did Wicked Deep, so that's kind of fun because they kind of match in that there's a moon and stars on the Wicked Deep cover, and there's a moon and stars on this cover as well, and it's very metallic-y. So yeah, I would say if you like witchy, magical realism, metaphysical, mystery, moody kind of reads, then you should check out Winterwood by Shea Ernshaw. And like I said at the beginning of this video, I will link my review for Wicked Deep at the end of this. Don't forget to subscribe. I haven't been posting weekly for about a year now. I just post as I read, so there's not weekly videos anymore. I was in a habit for a long time, for like 2 or 3 years, of posting weekly, but my job changed and life changes, and I'm trying to read, not force myself to read, but read for enjoyment. So videos happen when they happen. Right now I'm reading Sorcery of Thorns, so you can probably expect a video for that by the end of the month, I would think. I actually started it a while ago, even before I started this, and I read about 40 pages and I wasn't feeling it like at all for some reason. I felt like too wordy and I just couldn't get into it, and then for some reason I decided to pick it up again last night, and all of a sudden I'm on page 150. So you could probably expect a review for Sorcery of Thorns later this month. Tell me what you're reading, or give me a book rec. I have a huge list. I got, you know, Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater, who's my favorite. For Christmas, I got The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, which is her second book since The Night Circus, which I loved when I read, and it's been a very long time since she's wrote a second book. I have Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. Even though I didn't like The Wicked King, my friend didn't like it either, but she read Queen of Nothing and said it's as good as The Cruel Prince. So I'm excited to read that. So I have lots of books that I'm actually looking forward to reading in 2020. So on that note, Happy New Year, and in the meanwhile, happy reading and happy